Hi, my name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to the bonus clip from our Rap Pod recording where our panel looked back over the URC Grand Final. If you missed it, it's on Apple, Spotify, and all the other usual places. Well, first up this week, we've got Tom, who's going to have a quick look at Sam Prendergast's role in Leinster's victory on Saturday.
Well, I don't know if people have been looking online lately, but there's been one or two articles over the last few weeks about Sam Prendergast
I think
and
it's
how
come
they
up.
it's come up. Yeah, you have to search through Google pretty finely to try and find a few articles. But look, I jest. There's been a lot of talk about Sam's deficiencies the last few weeks and how they've got progressively worse, progressively better. I suppose I'm not going to focus on that. At the end of the day. Sam's a 22-year-old guy. He's got a URC medal in his back pocket, so and he's one of the players that played most of this season when we've only lost three games out of whatever 28 games. So, Sam, I think, can pocket off a good season. What I'm going to focus on really is how Leinster, you can look at a guy's flaws, and when you're coaching players, you have their bios, their bio, and you work on their SWOT analysis nearly, what their strengths and weaknesses are. And you either look at it and do nothing, coach them, or make changes to help them. And I did speak a couple of weeks ago about Leinster, the rest of the Leinster team. If they're going to play Sam in a certain way, they need to show that sort of aggression up front. And that was, we spoke about, if anyone wants to listen to the pod on the match, we spoke about how aggressive the Leinster forwards were, and that does give Sam the platform, especially inside when he comes alive inside the opposition 22. But the areas I'm just going to focus on really mainly is how they use Sam in defence this week, in in different areas of the pitch. So like when the Bulls had possession in and around the middle third, Leinster were quite happy to pull Sam back into nearly a James Lowe position. And it allowed James Lowe then to push up into the sort of three-quarter position, and both Ringrose and Jordy Barrett slotted in sort of the 12 and 10 position. And all of a sudden you've got a Bulls team, you have to go on one out runners. They're now looking at Jordy Barrett and Gary Ringrose as the perceived hole in the wall was not there, and when they did, Keno rightly pointed out on the pod, the Bulls tend to go a couple of phases like ourselves and then kick, and Sam was in an ideal position a lot of the times in that sort of James Lowe position to regather the ball, either carry it back, do what Gary Owen, maybe go long, do a spiral. And he varies his exits a lot. And there was one instance I think he ended up throwing a pass to Geordie for Geordie to clear. So Leinster used him quite cleverly when Leinster were defending in that middle third of the pitch. But Leinster didn't stop it there, and the coaching team didn't stop it there. When Leinster were defending inside their own 22 or inside the last quarter of the pitch, they tended to use Sam as sort of an anchor defender. Now, an anchor defender in rugby sometimes is like, especially if you're going to visualize a restart and you're kicking off to the left, there's somebody just to the right of the 10 that's after kicking off, and that's your line. That's everything else you're going to pressure inside to make the exit poor. So that's like an anchor defender, and they were using Sam as an anchor defender just outside the 13 channel, and everything inside that was pure aggression. So like, he was like the outside edge of that defending. There was a lot of the times where he was pushing up, and he made some decent tackles the weekend. He was a speed bump a couple of times, but he brought down lads. But he was like that anchor defender on the outside edge, and everything inside that, from the ruck to him, absolutely Leinster's line speed was pouring out. So he was being used very cleverly, and it takes brains from him to do that. That is an important role in defence. If in any sort of defence, to act as that sort of anchor, didn't necessarily have to shoot, but it's that mark in the sand, the line in the sand, where everything inside that you're just going to try and bulldoze. So look, Leinster obviously did a lot of work in the paddock over the last few weeks. They just didn't leave him in the 10 channel, and they mixed it up and varied it, that he could be a kicking option in open play, and he could be that anchor defender, especially inside our 22. And when you got guys inside him like Geordie Barrett and Gary Ringrose, and then obviously you've got the rest of the pack and the back row filling in there. It became a very strong defensive line for Leinster, where the Bulls got absolutely no joy at all. And the Bulls, coupled with the Bulls' game plan not to be able to attack our outside edge, it was a defensive masterclass by Jacques Nienbar, and how he was able to use at the end of the day, Sam has strengths as a defender. We all marvel at James Lowe making those exits or Jamie Osborne making those kick exits. They use Sam in the same way, and I just thought it was taking a guy's strengths and applying them rather than just focus on his weaknesses, which has been well documented. Focus on his strengths and you adjust the game plan so that the weaknesses are a less of a factor, and that's a sign of a really good coaching team and a good bunch of guys around him, and for Sam to adapt his role slightly because he had to play his role slightly different as well. And pointing out those things. That's not him hiding out in the back line. You know, if you've got that inclination, I think you've got a bias there. You just have to look at the coaching style that was implemented by Liam Barr to just take his the perceived weaknesses, but just focus in on the strengths and adjust the team slightly different. And that's just that I thought that was fantastic. It's not just isolating the good guy, and that was absolute masterclass. I thought what was done on the paddock over the last couple of weeks to get the best out of defense and the best out of Sam.
Yeah, I mean, on this very bonus clip just last week, we were talking about his place kicking, and we were
Mm.
trying to be pragmatic and just say, listen, he's going to play next week. That's fine, but maybe let Jordy take the kicks or take the pressure off him and all that kind of stuff. But then the comments we got on that video were like, what are you talking about his place kicking? He can't defend. He can't do this. He can't do that. He shouldn't be playing at all. Blah blah blah. All this kind of stuff, and it was just like, whoa, okay. And let's just say I'm glad we were all wrong, and Leinster found a way, found a much better way, and it reaped the rewards. Okay, so listen, we're going to move on to Keno now, who wants to have a quick look at the contributions of Leinster's imports.
Yeah, I thought it was a timely just to take a little trip and have a look at the people who've come to Leinster for various reasons from various places and just kind of made it their own. We'll start off with kind of probably the headliner for the season, Geordie Barrett. Finally found his way back home. One season signing, but like what a return. He gave Leinster versatility, calm, and star quality. Like arguably tipped the balance in a number of games in our favour. Certainly in a number of scores, they wouldn't have happened without him on the pitch. In the final, he did it all. Chased up that kick on to score a stunning try 13 minutes in that I think literally broke Bull's hearts. But he was cleaning up backfield ball, making strong midfield carries, defended like a man possessed. That big shot he put in on Goose in around 41 minutes absolutely killed the Bulls attack. Um, Having him there as well as a second kicking option in the centre meant that Prendergast wasn't isolated. Like when he needed support, he had Barrett there, someone he could rely on that he knew could handle pretty much any situation that they found themselves in. Um, Statistically, like he was one of Leinster's most effective backs in terms of meters made, line breaks, kick meters over the course of his games with us. Um, I think the reaction from the Leinster camp after the final said it all. Cullen called him a pleasure to coach, and I believe those words out of Leo. And Barrett himself said, I loved putting on the Leinster jersey every single time. He's heading back to New Zealand now. You'd have to imagine Leinster would welcome him back again for another sabbatical in a heartbeat. Uh, the signing looked flashy, I think, when it went through last year, but it turned out to have a serious substance to it as well. And I think maybe sets a pathway, especially with the Ione signing coming down the road for next season as well, that more New Zealanders might be looking at having a sojourn with Leinster for a couple of months.
So they'll be fighting over it.
We might let the Barrett brothers take turns.
That's it.
Um, Now, next probably the next biggest headline signing for, well, let's say different reasons. Snyman. If anyone epitomized the gain from Leinster's transfer strategy, it's Snyman. After he had frankly a brutal injury run at Munster, we it looked like a bit of a gamble at the time taking him in, but he has stayed fit all season and he has been playing some of his the best club rugby of his career. Um, at the final there, he came on half-time for James Ryan and immediately made an impact. Strong carries, solid line-out work, great decision making around his offloads.
Yeah.
Because his offloading game had been a little bit up and down of late. his decision making in the final was impeccable. He was absolutely, and he threw a couple of peaches as well. Highest offloading player in the URC, but you'd rather see them being good ones rather than kind of just offload for offload's sake. And they only count when they make an impact, and he definitely made an impact with them at the weekend. But also huge counter ruck on 55 minutes. Again, a momentum changer. He has a skill set that is so rare. He is an absolute giant of a man who has the handling skills of the nimblest of centers. He can pass, offload, and move like a back row. It gave us a different dimension to lock play, especially in tight matches where you need a bit of variety in who you can bring on and change things up with impact from the bench. He won URC Players Player of the Season. It's a pretty big accolade considering the competition, and it's voted for by the players. And he was named in the URC Elite 15. After the match, he called Leinster the best environment I've played in. And given some of the environments he's been in, that's high praise. He's still with us now again for another season, which I think is massive for the continuity in the pack and also the development of some of our younger second rows and possibly even a back row as well. So for all the attention on the kind of Flair signing of Barrett, it's the guys who dominate contact zone and line out who win titles, and that's what Snyman brought us. And then lastly, I'll harp on fan favorite. Like the Slimani signing was pretty unheralded, and people again were really dubious about it. It's like you're hiring the guy we let go is replacing in the other place because he was going to retire into coaching. Like, what are you doing? This guy's past his best, like, and absolutely incorrect. He's a real rugby hipster's favorite, so my favorite, obviously. He did his job brilliantly, like always on the bench for big games, veteran control at the set piece. In the final, he came on 55 minutes, and within 3 minutes, earned a scrum penalty against the head. Like it's exactly what you want off of your bench prop. Like he might not have flashy carry stats, but he will not lose you scrum. He won't take a step backwards in defense. He will not concede a penalty. Again, yeah, I'm looking at you, Alalato. And he gave Clarkson and Boyle a really great role model to learn from. Like he is an absolute artisan of what he does. He knows, and he has the perfect shape for a prop. I love his shape. He's as wide as he is tall. He's like a scaled up model of a dwarf, like from Lord of the Rings. So yeah, he is a bedrock player, nails down the scrum, and that's the kind of thing that gets you over the line in tight games and at the end of the season championship rugby. That is exactly who you need. And he was that for us all season. Like he's 34, he's still mobile, disciplined, highly effective. Brilliant bit of recruitment that really paid off, especially in the later stages of the tournament.
Yep, three imports critical to Leinster's success, and I think we got almost exactly what we need from the imports without at the expense of Irish players.
And how rare is it to have three foreign imports in the same year come in and all be successful?
Yeah,
it never happens.
That has been key. There's just two things I'll finish off saying on Geordie. Number one, he's great. He's he's kind of a one in a kind. You won't replace him. There's a lot of talk about Rico Iwani. I've watched the Blues the last couple of weeks, and he was a hell of a lot better than I thought he would. I thought he was pretty impressive. They had a good playoff win at the Chiefs. They came close to the Crusaders. He had a good impact at the latter stages of both those games. So he won't be maybe not be Geordie's impact, but when you consider we've got other players coming into play, that can play center as well. He could have a good impact. And for the second point, I'm just going to say this for the last time, and I'm going to personally put this to bed. You should have started against Northampton. I just want to say that out loud.
Oh, why'd you have to finish on that?
I want to just get it out there because I'm going to be saying it over and over again forever if I don't. So I've got it out there. That's it. That's done. I think we all know it. If I didn't say it, there'd be loads of comments saying it anyway. So I just thought I'd say it anyway. But anyway,
we all know and believe that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And But as ever, if you have anything to say about whatever, except the Barrett thing, because I've already said that, but if you have anything you want to say, we're harping on, or indeed, if you'd like us to feature anything else on these future pods, do let us know by the way of comments. And while you're at it, sure, there's no harm in doing a bit of a liking, sharing, and subscribing as well. Thanks for tuning in for our latest video. Keep an eye out for our next 80 Plus column on our Substack account this Wednesday.